Hi, I'm Janiessa Norice, and this is Define Design. Today, countless individuals turn to the internet for shopping, research, and other activities. When visiting a website, the first prompt you typically encounter concerns cookies. However, most people are unaware of the implications of these cookies. Navigating the online landscape comes at a cost. When shopping online, users encounter pre-selections they can't edit or disguise ads that include trick wording. This leaves them confused and outside of their original flow. Having this lack of clarity makes individuals susceptible to deceptive design techniques, or better known as dark patterns. These strategies manipulate user behavior, leading them to make choices they would usually avoid. Companies are facing large government penalties for maintaining these deceptive designs, and users are becoming more educated on these dark patterns. To gain more insight on this, I've reached out to a friend of mine, Ajay Patil. Ajay is a UI UX designer and experienced researcher at Pravitech Corp. He believes UX design is about empathy and clarity. Good UX removes friction, solves real problems, and quietly builds trust. Tune in to hear us explore the concept of deceptive design patterns, commonly referred to as dark patterns. Ajay will explain how these patterns manipulate users into making decisions they may not otherwise make, such as subscribing to services or sharing personal data without their full consent. Let's tune in. Hey, everybody. I'm here today with Ajay, a UX designer, and he's here to talk to us about some really important things when it comes to design patterns. We're discussing deceptive design patterns, also known as dark patterns. So I'm going to give Ajay a chance to introduce himself. Hey, Ajay, how you doing?
Yeah, hi. Hi everyone. Myself Ajay Patil. I'm working as an UI UX designer from past 2+ years. Today we will be talking about the dark patterns used worldwide in our day-to-day life. We even the users don't know they are being used. What exactly the dark patterns are? The dark patterns are usually a tricks used in an apps or websites to push users into doing the things they really don't want to do, like subscribing or sharing data and sometimes paying extra.
Discussing these deceptive patterns and knowing that it actually encourages users or has users falsely thinking that they'll be receiving something, but they're getting something else. What are some common ways, such as like cookies, perhaps going to a website? I know that's really common, going to a
Yeah.
website and then they'll automatically ask you, do you accept all these cookies? But you don't always get the option to say no, and you don't always get the option to manage those cookies either.
Yeah.
So, is that a part of this deceptive design?
Yeah, it's a part of this deceptive design, as the businesses want more information about the user. So eventually the cookies are kind of a files or the stored data which are stored in the browsing history of the website. So they collect the users information, the tracking of the users, the browsing history, and they collect the data. Based on that data they can make the advertisements for them. So multiple times you can see some, you speak something like booking an hotel, and some websites show you that ads like hotel ads. So that are some of the deceptive designs and which are very bad and ethically wrong, but businesses do that to grow their
Okay.
numbers.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense because it's like whenever you're having a conversation, you're like, oh, I'd really like to go to Peru. That would be great. Then all of a sudden you'll start
Yeah.
seeing all these deals to fly.
Yeah.
You're like, well, why is it when I say I'd love to have $1 million, there's never like
Yeah.
a cookie for that
Yeah.
one? What are some other ways, such as I know you mentioned purchasing things. So, what are some design patterns that could happen within a checkout flow that could be deceptive for users?
Yeah, so recently we can see the booking.com kind of thing. So they show that only one room is left, or
Hmm.
some kind of the timer they give. So before they give a countdown, before 5 minutes you need to book, or else the deal will go away. So these are some kind of an deceptive designs where they push the users to do the things fast, so that users get confused and they really add the book the hotel or they can buy something in that kind of way. That is a deceptive design.
Okay. So that's kind of like a fake urgency tied
Yeah,
in with the
fake
trick
urgency type. Yeah,
wording because it's
yeah,
getting the user to like rush to get this last room and it's not that. And there may be spending more money on the
yes.
end. So, yeah, I see how that could be deceptive. So, when we dive into things like possible solutions for these deceptive designs, what are some ways? Let's go back to cookies. I feel like that's the most general way that people can identify a deceptive design prior to purchasing items. I think that's another way that's very
Yeah.
popular. So, when it comes to cookies and being an actual designer, what are some ways that you're able to implement to make this design less deceptive? Or what would be the term for that? Like, if we call them dark patterns, are like the ones that aren't deceptive, are those light patterns? Or is there another term for those?
No, there are normal designs and a dark pattern. So usually they say
Okay.
dark because they are hidden.
Okay. All
So
right. Dark
users
because they're
eventually
hidden.
they don't see that, but they are doing that in that kind of way.
Okay. So
So
when we talk about things that are hidden and then these possible solutions, what are some recommendations that you have for other designers in product spaces?
yeah, so as a designer, we need to be transparent to the users. So
Hmm.
while giving any cookies, so we need to give an prominent button. As we give for accept, there should be a prominent button for reject or customize as well. So some of the websites, what they do is they just give the accept button and they don't give the reject button. So they need to do multiple steps to do the rejection, and you
Okay.
eventually users click on accept and they go forward, but they don't know what exactly they are collecting from that accept button itself. So these are some of the ways, and designers should use more simple language so that users can easily understand what exactly these are, and they should avoid the big pop-ups kind of thing which come in
Mhm.
between, so that users don't get confused on that, because the pop-ups block the screen, because the users can't do anything. So they need to either accept it or they need to go away from the website.
I don't like pop-ups either. They're so
Yeah.
annoying. It's like you
Yeah.
can't focus on what you're trying to do and then
Yeah.
it'll take your attention away. And it
Yeah.
also always makes me think I'm getting scammed as well if too many of them
Yeah.
like pop up. I'm like, I think I'm on the wrong website. So yeah, giving more concise and clear content, plain language, making the options readily available, and allowing users to accept or customize their cookie options are all like possible solutions to assist users along the flow when using their product. To go to the other side of things and to users, what are some things that they can do? For example, if they're on a website and they can only allow the cookies, is there a way for them to like clean out their
So they need
help
to
me?
yeah, so they need to clear their browsing history clearly
Okay.
in chromes or some search engines. They need to go for the cookies kind of thing, and they need to clear their data, the data history, and eventually the users need to avoid such kind of websites itself directly. Instead of accepting that, they need to choose an alternative for that, where
Okay.
they can find the better websites where they can trust more on that. In
Okay.
that kind of way they can do it.
Okay. And as we're learning more about these deceptive designs as designers, me specifically content and you doing UX, and I saw that you've posted about some of the changes that are happening in the legal impacts. And I'd like to dive into a little bit of that. Just beginning with how these deceptive patterns are rapidly growing, like, and people are starting to notice things about them enough to do research, enough to know, like, these are some of the patterns that we're noticing. So I'm curious for a team that may have a product that may be susceptible to deceptive design, but may not have the bandwidth to truly attack it or know how to begin. What are some ways that you would recommend that they can begin that process?
So nowadays what happens is US has made some laws, United States, so European continents had some laws like UK laws. So
Hmm.
they have individual state laws like based on the cyber crimes what are happening right now. So what they do is eventually they track the browsing histories, what exactly the big companies are doing. Like Amazon was doing as a false urgency kind of thing, so which we talked about the checkout process. Only 5 minutes are left, you need to check out or the deal will go away, that kind of way, and they got the penalty for that, something around $8 million USD something. They got the fine. Like Meta. So we were talking about the cookies, right? So Google
Hmm.
got also fined something around 150 million euros fine for this. Is the simple concept where they have shown the reject cookie button as a bigger one, and to sorry, the reject cookie button as a smaller, and accept
Hmm.
cookie button as a bigger one. So
Mm.
for clicking on the reject cookie, they need to go to multiple steps, then only they can reject, or else they need to accept. That kind of way they have done multiple fines on the bigger companies.
Just to shout out a few others from what you stated. Meta is at like 390 million, I think, euros.
Yeah,
Booking got penalized for like 400 million euros.
100.
And these are specific to UK, but these laws also stand stateside as well.
Yeah,
And aside from having a financial penalty, there's also the realization that you're breaking user trust and experience. So if there's a region and most users can buy off of this website, then all of a sudden they're having issues or they're paying more than they would typically pay, such as if it's like 20 bucks more, 10 bucks more, because it's always like small increments. It's never
yeah,
like, oh, we're going to just grab and run off. So just knowing like they're taking these little increments and trying to make users more aware as they're becoming more aware so that they can continue to trust their product space is truly
yeah,
a big deal.
yeah. Recently in India also, one thing happened. There is a company called Zepto,
Hmm.
where it is an 10 minutes delivery app, quick commerce app. So they
Hmm.
were charging like a handling fee. They were charging the delivery fee, plus they were charging a handling fee as well. So users understood that they're charging more.
Hmm.
So what they do is they have choose the alternative option, which was the Blinkit kind of. There are multiple options. They choose the alternative options for that. And now what Zepto has done, they have removed all the charges because users were choosing the alternative one, not their app. So these are some of kind of an examples where right now the bigger companies are moving into path to be transparent to the users.
I feel like we're kind of working together in a sense because we're like, okay, this isn't working out. The users are on one end, and I wanted to get into later in our conversation ways that users are able to report these products and say, hey, this is, a deceptive design experience so that it gets added to the list essentially, and then the right processes are taking place. But until we get to that, I wanted to really talk about all of the other indicators that we have because it's more than just cookies. It's more than just adding your email to a certain account and you think you're getting emails about flower sales, but they've shared your data with so many other spaces. So, other indicators that could be such as disguised ads. I know that that's one that we've talked about as well. When the user
Mm.
mistakenly believes that they're clicking on an interface element, we kind of touched on that with the pop up things, but
Yeah,
for users, I know on a content side, a big thing for me is checking the grammar. Usually something will be misspelled when it's a situation like that. And that's like a key to me, like, oh, red flag, let me X
yeah.
out of this as soon as possible. But are there other elements of that design that users may be able to pay attention to and think, okay, this may be a deceptive design as well?
Yeah, so we can go with the pre-selection options as well, where users usually get as pre-selected options. We have the
Mhm.
checkbox, and already the main contents are containers are been checked instead of the users choose that. So what in hurry users just go forward and forward. They don't see that. So
Mhm.
due to that, the users get the emails from the as a subscription from the newsletters kind of way. Yeah, so that are one kind of a common dark patterns usually they do for
Okay.
subscribing. Yeah,
Okay, so we have like this. We have cookies. We have disguised ads. We have trick wording. And what about nagging? Like just trying to really encourage a user to do something that they're not even really trying to accomplish or thinking about. Would that be one of the elements as well?
yeah, the nagging can be an element from that where the users try to do something, but they persistently interrupt by requesting to do something else, like pop-ups, right? They are doing something important work, but in between pop-up appears, which disturbs the users, and they usually fill the form and then leave that. Once we
Mhm.
feel that, then it will not appear, so they will feel it, and based on that, the businesses gets the data, and they use for that, like personalized adding kind of thing they use it. Yeah.
Okay. So it comes down to the user's experience, possible feedback that you can get from that user to even report. Because I know that there are some spaces where users might just stop using the app and
Yeah.
not report. The pre-selections, I'm not filling those. These are not the options that work for me, so I just stopped using it. But we will also notice that from the data, as you mentioned, because the usability will go down. So I think it's important just also showing that user's view, knowing that you got cookies. Submitting your email can go to multiple places. If a product space is trying to encourage you to do something you don't want to do, or sending you emails about things that are totally off topic from where you wanted to go, those are all indicators. Pre-selection is an indicator. And now let's get into a spot that I was excited about. How do you complain about these things? Who do you tell
Yeah.
that something is wrong when something like this happens to you in your experience? And I did a little digging on the state side just to get an idea for the stateside audience. So reportfraud.ftc.gov is a website that is available on stateside or for American sites to report for any type of deceptive designs. And the UK actually has a few options. There's Citizens Advice, Advising Standards Authority, and then the EU has report a breach of they're very direct. Report a breach of EU law anywhere. And I'll drop all of these in the show notes, of course, for our audience because everyone is listening across the globe. But
Yeah.
they're very straight to the point. You can discuss what you experienced. It could be some of the things that we've talked about so far here, but being able to do this allows us to improve on a designer side and implement design patterns that are more of a golden flow and allow our users to increase their trust with our products and
Yeah.
not try to get them to feel like they're stuck with us. So when we think about making a user feel stuck, something that shouts out to me is unsubscribing or signing out. For certain spaces, that's really hard. And I've read like specifically with Amazon, trying to unsubscribe them has not been a walk in the park.
Yeah.
So I do that's another spot of deceptive design because if you no longer want to have services, we should make it for you to be able to accomplish that. But some spaces do. So, do you have any recommendations on a design side as far as how can we simplify the flow for users so that if they're no longer wanting to be a customer with us, that's fine. I know for a content person, we'll offer certain things, but it's not necessarily like you must stay. We're just like, okay, what if we give you another free month or something like that? Would you be interested in continuing with us? So, on a design side, what are some things that shout out to you to possibly heal this wound?
Yeah, so for signing out kind of a thing, or deleting an account kind of thing, so the designers need to think based on the business perspective as well and the user's perspective as well, because the business needs to get the numbers what they want, because
Mm-hmm.
for that only they have built an application or an website. What usually, from as you mentioned, we provide a month extra for them to make them more enthusiastic to use the app instead of leaving it. So that are the points. But the designers should be more transparent to the users. If they are checking out, we can give a clearer path, less steps to check out or sign out, and then the users can do that sign out process and they can leave. But it harms the business, so usually most of the business don't allow that. And that is, from users perspective it is bad, but from, if you think from a business perspective, it is the good thing for the business, where we give some offers where the users can stay on that. And eventually we are designing for an business as well and for the users as well, so we need to be in between that, and we need to make user friendly design while respecting the business as well.
I absolutely agree with that. I also wanted to say, because I know the penalties show a clear trend. So we got ethical, transparent. You were mentioning some of this throughout our conversation. Ethical, transparent, user first design. Now it doesn't seem as optional. as it used to be, where now we have more government laws, penalties, there are regulations being implemented. And it seems like being user first is more of the focus on a compliance level, as you were mentioning, on a business need. So, have you noticed any trends that are shifting perhaps to keep the user first focus growing?
Yeah, so nowadays everyone is using being more digitalized. So the users are easily identifying what is wrong and what is correct for me. So
Hmm.
even the cyber crimes are also increasing. So users are much aware about the thing. So nowadays companies are also building such kind of where users can trust the site or the apps so that they can stay. Or else once the trust is broken, it is so hard to bring back their trust again. So Apple has that. So Apple never sells the privacy, right? So that
Hmm.
even any government tells them to give the data, they don't provide any data for the government as well. So that's why many big companies uses Apple product for their employees kind of thing. So because the data is more secured kind of way instead of getting hacked or kind of way. Yeah. So that
Hmm.
are some things. And for designers, I would say you need to think, would it, would I be okay if this design was used on my family? So if your family members can use this design, then your design is good. Or else if you don't want your family members to use this, then there is something tricky in the design. That's why you're thinking the my family members should not use this design. So that one thing they should remember and then design it, because users are the point where the company is growing based on the users itself. So you need to be more transparent, the users need to trust you, and in between the business can also grow.
I think that's very well said. Because once you lose trust, like with any relationship, sometimes
Yeah.
it can't be rebuilt or reestablished. And I think that a lot of businesses are being forced to consider that now versus for a while they just kind of, this is our product, take it or leave it. And now it's like, we're leaving it and we're going to try these other things or create another app that does the same thing but better, for example. So, with you being a designer and having this conversation and having this insight on deceptive design, if there were any other designers that would like to reach out to you to continue this conversation, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so they can search my name as an Ajay Patil on an LinkedIn, or I have my profile on Behance as well, same as Ajay Patil 06. So they can search me on Behance as well and LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. That is our conversation on deceptive patterns. Ajay, thank you so much for being a guest.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Ajay Patil. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and learned a bit about deceptive design patterns. We touched on growing awareness, the need for clear interface language, and the importance of straightforward options. If you'd like to continue this conversation with Ajay, I've placed his contact information in the show notes. If you'd like to report a site, I've placed those links in the show notes as well. And lastly, if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to like or subscribe on the platform of your choice. This episode was written and produced by me, Janiessa Norice, while editing and post production is done by Digital Sunflower. Until next time, turn your problems into opportunities.